Let's move now to our latest police state updates, my friends. Surveillance and apple pie. The first story we covered on the latest episode of NewWorldNextWeek.com, and that would be the FBI raids on anti-war activists. Of course, they are intimidation, not investigation. There were no arrests. There aren't going to be any charges. But, of course, homes were ransacked. Nerves were rattled. Calm was shattered. It was a fishing expedition to see what they could scoop up on people planning protests for, one, the 2012 War Party conventions, not to mention the elections coming up here in about 30 days. Intimidation. So we have more on that from StarTribune.com, antiwar.com, InfoWars, Feds expand war of terror, raid anti-war activists. But we'll hop again to News Junkie Post for American as Apple Pie, spying on your own citizens. During the Bush era, in the sweeping, intrusive context of the Patriot Act, U.S. citizens found out that their international communications were spied on with the generous complicity of their trusted telecoms like AT&T and Verizon. These actions were, until 2008, clearly outside the norms of the defined wiretap authorization given by the FISA court. The Obama administration has in the works something just as sweeping and intrusive for the little we have left as far as right to privacy and civil liberties are concerned. We source back again to the article from Charlie Savage in the New York Times. We noted it on the previous episode. U.S. tries to make it easier to wiretap the internet, as if it weren't already worldwide wiretap set up by the military, the biggest websites funded by In-Q-Tel, the investment arm of the CIA, and we willingly give up all our information. But the real problem here is this. Once a society or a state become permanently obsessed with so-called security, civil liberties and right to privacy are squashed. Because of authoritarian measures such as the Patriot Act, the executive branch of government's ability to spy on U.S. citizens is already too broad, and the new law proposed by Obama would only expand it. Big Brother Barry Soetoro government has been with us for some time, and this would only make matters worse. A hell of a lot worse. The administration's basically arguing and simply hoping to emulate the CALEA Act, C-A-L-E-A, Communications Assistance to Law Enforcement Act, which you may remember from a recent Korber Report episode. This basically ties in spying on BlackBerries and Skype, things that are, up until now, encrypted, we believe. Swirling around all this, of course, the spying going on in Pennsylvania, and I incorrectly noted on our episode 187 from 2 weeks ago, I mistakenly thought it was people paying attention to the military war game drills being run by Homeland Security and private military contractors. That's the drill I thought they were referring to. However, it's about natural gas and enviro crash. That's what the anti-drilling activists were all about, and more on the mysterious institute that spied on those Pennsylvanian anti-drilling activists from citypaper.net, and of course, that is the Israeli company contracted by our government to spy on Pennsylvania citizens. It's just a coincidence, I'm sure. Meanwhile, the Homeland Security chief in Pennsylvania went into hiding when all of this hit the fan. I'm not sure what the state of that is right now, but it gets worse. The police state unfolds in many different ways in many different cities, but the MO is generally the same. It's put to you as a PR push, as if you need the military to help you with everything in your daily life, whether that's traffic or a fire or getting a flu shot. What about radiating Americans? Feds radiating Americans. Google that. You know, that's the go-to search term from a couple of days ago. Counter-terror operation stops trucks on I-20 in Atlanta.
We have new information on this breaking news. Hundreds of truck inspections on Interstate 20 in the past few minutes. We confirm this is all part of a counter-terrorism operation. Good evening. I'm Monica Pearson.
And I'm John Pruitt. Everyone from Homeland Security to air marshals are involved. We've seen inspectors pulling over semis on I-20 in Douglas County, and they've been using explosive detectors on those trucks.
A tip to Channel 2 investigative reporter Mark Winnie got us started on the story late this afternoon. Mark has been working his sources ever since. He's live on the scene with what he's learned in the past few minutes. Mark.
See this guy right here? I understand the device he's using on that truck is to detect radiation. Now, the TSA spokesman told us that the federal air marshals are the lead federal law enforcement agency today at this truck stop in Douglas County, but there are federal, state, and local agencies involved. The operation is called VIPER, Visible Intermodal Prevention and Response. Here's what we put together. We're told the big truck with the boom is an X-ray machine for tractor trailers and other large containers. That this X-ray machine looks not for broken bones, but signs of explosives, weapons, anything unusual. We're told this truck and every truck coming through is being checked for radiation, explosives, and drugs. Nelson Minnerly at the Federal Air Marshal Service told me after the Madrid train bombing, it was obvious TSA needed to do more to combat terror for transportation besides air traffic. He says this is a counterterrorism operation, though counter-drug operations and safety inspections are underway also.
So how'd you get picked for the X-ray line?
Your guess is as good as mine. I have no idea. They just pulled me around.
How long you been stopped already?
Half an hour, maybe.
All right, Dad, we're back live. There are a bunch of agencies here, too numerous to mention, really, but again, federal, state, and local. The VIPER operations, we're told, have been conducted around the country. I don't know if there's been many of this scale. However, we have got a number of crews out here. You heard my colleague Richard Belcher asking a question of a truck driver there. So we plan to come back as developments warrant if it's needed. For now, this is Mark Winnie reporting live, Channel 2 Action News.
See, it takes a lot of organizations to desensitize the military and the civilians to the military performing operations such as this. As they even say, this is multi-tiered. So not only are they rolling out the naked body scanners that are, of course, embarrassing and store your naked photo, later to be laughed at by corrupt TSA employees, not to mention the fact that it ruins your DNA, not to mention the fact that folks like Michael Chertoff are at the heads of companies that are forcing and rolling out these body scanners, not to mention the fact that most of the airports were already scheduled to install them pre-Christmas underwear bomber Patsy PSYOP false flag event happened. But as they do mention, well, we're also going to do some safety checks and, check for drugs or, anything we want. We use it as a guise. How long will we put up with it? Speaking of the TSA, from CNN, TSA to expand number of employees who will have secret clearances. I think it'll basically be now a third of them will have high-level security clearances. But why let the TSA and the corrupt little boss hogs getting off on their little bit of authority? Don't let them have all the fun. Going over to snapscouts.org, crowdsourcing crime prevention, teaching your kids to spy on your neighbors for mixing up recycling or running their power too long or anything suspicious. DHS to require minimum delay of 72 hours before flying as of November 1st. This question being asked by Cryptagon.com, sourcing back to publicly available Q&As and fact sheets from airlines. 72 hours. That's a waiting list, essentially. And I had the misfortune of going to the airport this past Sunday. It's as if they almost don't want you to fly. It's as if they want you to become so frustrated by being nickeled and dimed and poked and prodded and analyzed and pulled aside for extra security that you stay in your home and tune in, sack out, and shut up. Big Sister Napolitano, again, tries to force body scanners on other countries amidst backlash. And the aforementioned underwear bomber, Kurt Haskell, one of the main witnesses of this Patsy underwear bomber event, He's got a new piece on this upcoming trial of Muttalab. It's on haskellfamily.blogspot.com. And he notes that Muttalab fired his lawyers and wants to represent himself, which could be quite fascinating, my friends. And seemingly all these things come from Amsterdam for some reason. Here's more. Unruly passenger forces Amsterdam flights return to Seattle. Boeing gets $89 million to build unmanned aircraft that can stay aloft for 5 years. That's from networkworld.com. And we're back to, as we mentioned a little bit ago, anytime we have these busts, anytime we have these major terror events, of course we find the ugly fingerprints of the intelligence agencies, such as in the Bronx.
More and more shocking information is coming out about Shahid Hussein, the FBI informant at the heart of the prosecution's case. On the stand in federal court Thursday, he admitted attending a terrorist training camp in Pakistan and traveling to London, all while on the FBI payroll.
Oh, he's good. He's a shyster, so I can see why they use him. I said the case should be called Who Can Lie the Most.